was a long string of investor no's. And there were also early stage, a long string of consumer no's. That was one of the biggest barriers that we had to overcome early on, is that people had such a negative connotation with supplements. No one would buy the product out of that group because they would just say, I just eat real food. Like, this supplements are like synthetic and artificial. And so that was a steep barrier we had to overcome, where finally we convinced everyone that's like, hey, the whole point of our existence is that our supplements come from food. Like, they're plant-based, they're real food-based. But that was like, even, some really close friends would just like not be into the product because they just associate it and grouped it with other supplements. So it was that steep early stage barrier to educate customers about why we're actually different because we come from real food. But it was a painful period for sure, trying to get through that education process about why our product is unique. The biggest question that I hate, because it's like anyone could ask this about any industry, is like well, what stops someone with more money than you and more talented people than you from just coming in and crushing you? It's like, I mean, yeah, I guess like nothing other than like hustle. We're trying to move quickly. We're trying to create the best product. We're trying to do like all these great things. But that is sort of like the shown the door question that we got a lot. And I know a lot of other people face too, which is just really hard to answer. You just have to prove it. You just have to go out there with grit and show that you're able to just build what you say you can build and not deal with questions like that, which are pretty unanswerable. I was really just going on rocket reach and gathering what emails I could and spamming people with pitches. Like that was my strategy. There wasn't a whole lot of nuance behind it. I was just trying to get in front of whoever we could. And so, yeah, I think we sort of took questions from those meetings and then just went and said, what data matters to us? What data is going to help us build a really successful business? And a side net benefit of that, it could be that these investors will one day be interested in the future. But as often happens, by the time they're interested, we don't need them anymore. It was for a brief period, we're like trying to cater to all these different audiences. It forced us to say, okay, this is impossible. We're not going to be able to answer all these questions from all these people. And so we just have to go back to the drawing board and do the self-analysis and reflect on what is important to us in our business. And then that is going to eventually naturally attract the right kind of investors for us who understand those metrics intrinsically and why they're important. And you don't have to go through that whole process because you're going to attract people who are truly value add because they understand the way that you're building the business. It would have been really easy for us to go down a certain route that would have taken the easy path and just tried to make things work. Don't rock the boat. We only have like extremely limited amounts of capital as we're launching the company, and to try to go to a different manufacturer and get the same thing done again and risk selling out and inventory was the hard choice. And truly we had to step back, and for reasons around questions around ethical, sort of quality and doubts in manufacturing partner, it set us on a path that I think really guided the core culture of our product decisions and the transparency behind our product, because it really instilled in us that, hey, if we're willing to make those sacrifices early on to pick up and leave when we don't feel right, when we know that if our customers were to, like, how would they feel about any of these decisions? It's like, if we could do it during the hardest period and do it for the sake of our product quality, then we know we can do it later on. This is something that all investors and funds will say is, I add so much value. It's very, very, very vague term, doesn't mean anything. I think that's where I would recommend anyone starts with, and that's what we start with now, is if you can't sit down and write out clearly on paper exactly where this investment, this quote unquote value add investment fund is actually going to add value, then they're not value add. I don't think everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur, right? Like, I see a lot of people who just want like a quick buck, and they see an acquisition, especially in our space, right? They're like, oh my God, that bar company got acquired. I'm going to start a bar.
Right.
Or like, this, like,
right.
That you read the news, you chase the headlines, and you think you're going to do it. In our case, we really do care so deeply about the sustainability. We care about the plant-based nature of our products. We care about plant-based nutrition. that it's like, for us, it wasn't about making fast money. It really was about what we're doing. And we always said, unless like the bank just drains our accounts and the police come and bar up the doors and they like physically restrain me, we're going to keep working on this, right? Like even if we go through the absolute worst of times, like this is what we're doing. And I think there's a bit of it's like a massive weight that's lifted off your shoulders when you really fully like absorb that into your bones. Like you really know, no matter what happens, unless you're forced to, like this is your baby, like you're going to keep working on this. It relieves a weird amount of stress. Like you all of a sudden feel like you can do anything.